Hi, welcome to Soundings with Sash, my Monday night show. Nice to see you. In the comments, say hi if you're here. And Denise, I see you're here. Denise, nice to see ya. I'm so excited tonight. We are going to talk about relationships. So I have a special guest co-host, and he is a relationship coach. We can ask him. I don't remember how long he's been a relationship coach. It's JMC Coaching and Jayson Mair, and I'd like to welcome him to the show right now. Welcome.
Hey, Sandy.
Hey, how are ya?
Good. Long time no speak.
Yes, no kidding. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for joining. And Heather, hi, howdy. So awesome. So how long have you been a relationship coach?
Officially since 2007. So is that nearly 14 years?
Okay.
But was also kind of doing it before then for friends and family without even knowing what it actually was. So I was good at fixing everyone else's relationships, but not mine as much. But I am good now.
Okay. All right. And you're getting some people saying hi to you as well. So
Hey,
where are you? You kind of have this accent. So where are you talking to us from?
Melbourne, Australia.
Okay.
Hey, Nora.
Nice. Hi, Nora. Hi, Heather. Thanks for joining us. So you and I discussed, of course. Oh, here we go. Hi, Rosie. We have Rosie. Hello, Rosie. So she's calling. She's from down under as well, correct?
Yeah, she's about 45 minutes from here. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, she's probably, I think she was working today, so she's probably only about 20 minutes from here. Should be working instead of watching us, but that's okay.
Okay. Hi, Rosie. So thank you guys for joining us. So we're going to talk about relationships because that's what you do. Oh, look, we have another down under. Well, there we go.
Hey.
Hello, Mr. Robinson. How are you? So nice. Thanks for joining us. So we are talking about, you and I discussed, of course, relationships. The last time that you were on the show, we talked about, how people were doing during the pandemic. So, but this time, what are we going to be talking about with relationships?
Well, with the pandemic, it's kind of, this may have been happening before, but I think it's actually relationships have really come to a head, and a big shift is happening at the moment, I find, because there's been a massive, and I hate to say this, but a massive amount of breakups, divorces, separations in the last few months. Especially in the last few weeks, there's been decisions made. And I think that might be, as we all do with New Year, we evaluate over Christmas, New Year period, what we want in life and where we are and where we've come from. And, we do a whole evaluation of, you and I have discussed it a few times, we sort of say, well, what did we learn from 2020? What are we learning? What do we want from 2021 and stuff? But sometimes I think with the pandemic and people being in lockdown around the world and so forth, they're kind of forced to make decisions that, sad to say from my experience, is, well, it's not sad to say from my experience, but sad to say, from my experience, is that it's forced people to make a decision that they've been putting off for a long time about their relationships. We all have our struggles in our relationships, and we all have our ups and downs, but it sometimes gets to a point where we get so busy that we try to avoid making a decision.
Okay.
We put it off for all sorts of reasons. Oh, we're busy with work, or the kids' schooling and sports, or this or that and everything else. Then all of a sudden we're shut down, and we're stuck in the house with those people that we've been married or engaged or living with for so many years. And you then start to realize all the cracks that have been there long before, but you've kind of brushed over.
Right.
And people are getting to a point where they're just going, you know what? I don't want this. They
Right.
look across at their other half and they're just saying, well, no, this is no,
Right.
I don't like
Right.
this. And it's brought people to a head as well, because there's a lot of underlying issues that they've, again, avoided, brushed under the carpet, and
Mm-hmm.
tried to, I'm too busy, we're at work. If I work back, I don't have to go home. If I don't go home early, I don't have to deal with it, and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening, it's all popping up, and people are like going, yeah, this is not
Right.
working. And all the decisions, all the excuses, all the reasons they've used over the years to, not face it, they've just
Right.
delayed the inevitable.
Right. They're
And
too comfortable. They've gotten comfortable, and they don't want to disrupt their lives. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right?
but then exactly. But
Mm-hmm.
then you're forced. You're in a house, 24/7, weeks on end, with some of the lockdowns that are going around. There's a big lockdown in the US, not US, the UK, and some parts of Europe and stuff. And people are they're cracking under the pressure. Even great
Right.
couples are still having to tackling themselves and having to separate themselves, and not in a bad way, that sense, but because what
Mm-hmm.
happens, I always believe that you should have, like if it was you and me, you have your time, I have my time, we have our time together.
Right.
You've got to have a little bit of
You
own
do.
time where
You
if
have to have an
you
outlet.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
You have to have friends or whatever,
yeah,
do a party Zoom call with your girlfriends in another room, something like that. Right.
exactly. You've got to have that downtime away, because there's even some of your best friends, you might love
Mhm.
them, but there's even times where you're going to go, well,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go. They're calling. I'm not going to call tonight because I need all that time and energy to talk to them. So I'll call them back at a later time. And I know
Right.
someone's watching, and I've just said that to someone, but that's not the reason I'm calling you back, sir. So just in case someone called me just before we started this, so I'd have to say,
Ah.
I'll see you later. But no, that's not the reason. But but that's what's happening. And then what's happening also is they're then realizing that the person they got with 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and some are even short, some are like,
Yeah.
got together a year ago, are just going, you know what? No, I don't want to do this. We're in precious times right now where it is now making people realize you want quality over quantity, as in you might only have limited time with people now, but you want it to be quality time. You want the quality people in your life. You don't want, just every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I know people every year, I sort of say during the Christmas, New Year, go and unfriend people you haven't spoken to in a year and a half or so, or unlike pages, you haven't, like, clear out all the stuff that's not necessary. And I think I've
Right.
seen on your show with you and Bob, Bob will say that you guys, hey,
Right.
Larry, will say that, you guys as Americans, and I don't think it's just Americans, I think it's a lot of different countries where we accumulate a lot of stuff, and sometimes you need to clear it out. And it's the same with, and it's not to be rude, but it's the same with friends and pages and social media and stuff, because it's a
Right.
struggle, and and you get bombarded and with so many outside influences and stuff. And then you and I discussed doing the show tonight, and just said, let's discuss sort of, the levels of relationship, the breakdown
Right.
of
The phases. Mm-hmm.
at this way we could at least might be able to pass some information on to people to sort of get clear on their heads, the ones that are still trying to decide if to stay or go, or if they're single and they want a relationship, or if they're started a relationship and they're thinking it's not working, but sort of break it down so they can understand themselves a little bit better. Because the biggest relationship you've got to realize you're going to have, that's the most important, and a lot of people avoid dealing with this relationship more than ever, is with themselves.
With themselves. Exactly. Yes. If you don't know yourself, how can you join yourself with somebody else? If you don't know your own values, your own priorities, your own, just even know yourself in mind, body, spirit, how are you going to join yourself with somebody else? And if you're not whole and you've got a lot of brokenness and damage, again, how are you going to be bringing yourself into a relationship to go with someone else if they're not a whole? Two wholes actually are very successful, but people think, well, you're my half, here's the other half, but I'm not sure how that works.
Well,
So,
it doesn't. And that's
right.
that's one of the big struggles when people separate, is
Right.
because they become a Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And they're always, instead
Yes.
of known as John and Lisa, they're known as the Smiths.
Yes.
And then when it comes to separating, that's one of the biggest struggles, because especially men don't feel it relate to this as much as women, but they feel like they're losing their identity.
Right.
It's like, well, hang on, I've been Mrs. Smith for all these years, and I've been a mum and a wife and everything else, and it's all fallen apart around me,
Right.
and I want to keep it together. And I think I said this when I was on your show last time, that women will do whatever it takes to make the relationship last 2 to 3 times longer than the life of the relationship should ever last. Because they have this thing that they feel like they're a failure if it doesn't work. But it's like, you're not perfect, and you can't stop something. You can't make something happen by yourself when it involves 2 or more people.
Yeah.
And it needs the other person to be a part of it as well. And if they're not working with you, and this is what happens, what's happened, people have not worked together. They've worked, but not worked together, because they're both working parents, or both working in a couple and doing stuff. And now they're stuck together in a room, in a house, and just going, oh,
yeah,
I hate that he does this, or oh, she does this when I'm walking, and I can hear her in the other room making this noise, or I can hear him doing this, and it drives me nuts. And it's like, well, they've been like this for 23 years or 18 years or 15 years or something, or you've just kind of gone, oh, that's just him. But now people are getting to the point, because of the situation around the world, people are just getting to the point, you know what, it's like, I don't want to waste time anymore. I don't want to waste time with people that I'm not happy with.
Right.
Because
Denise is saying that right here. She's pruning away. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So sorry.
No, that's right. Some people also, they will say that, I've lost my train of thought now. What was I
Sorry,
saying?
that was my fault.
That's all right. I'll come back to it in a moment. I'll think about it in a moment. I'm easily distracted. Sorry.
That was totally my fault.
No,
So yes. So Jeff is asking, he's single, and do I start? That's the phase he's in. So everybody's at a different phase. So we were kind of going to talk about, where we're at in that process. And so Larry says, yes, so true to love yourself. Kenneth, sorry. 3-year-old we had a lifetime. Yeah.
And Ken I think he comes from like the old school way of things that, most of our parents, most parents, older generation, it's you commit to someone and you do what you can to make it work. And then you got, no offense to the younger generation, but, I had a potential client say to me one day, it's not working with my girl, and, I've got a kid to her, sort of thing. I could leave it tonight, just jump on, Tinder and find someone by the end of the week. And I just sort of went,
wow,
what?
Yeah.
And I went, so you would just like ditch your girlfriend, the mother of your child, and just find someone randomly on Tinder and start a relationship with them by the end of the week? And he goes, well, it's that easy now. And I just went, God help us all. If that's how we're going to look at relationships, well, then we've got no hope for the future generation, not just them, but kids, So.
Yeah, I think that online dating has changed a single person's. We used to have an old school phase, right?
Yeah.
See a person, find out about that person, maybe, get their phone number or whatever. It's so changed now. Now you're on a dating site and it's got 50 people, that are interested in you. Now that doesn't happen in person. That isn't what happens, organically. anymore. Now it's just an online presence. And now you can just go, oh yeah, he looks okay. Swipe. Yeah. Okay. And then and it's just so different in dating. So it's almost harder to even get to that first phase now, to find the person that you're even interested in and that you even want to spend time with. Now, let's do a meet and greet, 5 minutes, I mean, those things, it's really getting difficult for the single person to have a real type of connection, when it's online, when it's like, it's more orchestrated, I guess. I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, you're spot on there. And I know you did say, well, it's not like you've got a 50 potentials interest in it. It kind of does if you walk into some bars, but they're a lot rougher and a lot drunker than the ones you see on the dating site. But yeah,
I didn't say you had to go walking in a bar, so to speak.
As you see people sort of thing.
So, hi, Jeff. We have 2 Jeffs on here. So 1 in 4 marriages work anymore. Yeah, that's true.
It is.
And the meat market, exactly. Yeah. Ignore the first one that you sent, Heather. Didn't mean to send. She said, "Where do I find my top mate?" That's what she said. How do I find my top mate? So is that the one you wanted us to ignore that I just highlighted again? I wonder. Okay. So I dropped dating sites, not my thing.
That's the thing with the dating sites. Look, I've been on it myself, and to be honest,
me too.
It's not easy because you get people who you're trying, and this is the big thing, and this is where we probably really should have sort of buckled down for the sort of the first entry level of getting into a relationship. There are so many people that get onto dating sites and want to get out there and so forth, and get into a relationship, but they really, I don't want to be rude, but they're not ready because they really don't know what they want. They say they know what they want, but when it comes down to the crunch, they don't. They know what they want on the surface.
They think, right.
They don't know what they really want. Now,
right.
Best example is, I want you to treat me with respect. I want whoever I meet or I date or I'm married to, I want them to treat me with respect. But one of the first things you need to look at is you need to learn how to treat yourself with respect. And there's a book I'm reading at the moment on Audible called, I'll get it up in a second, I think it's The Mastery of Love. And they state that people who go into relationships that they haven't sorted out sorted out what they want and whatever, and their own pain and their own difficulties, is going into a relationship expecting someone else to show them the love, the care,
to make them happy. Right.
And it's like, hey, I want you to love me and treat me right, but I'm just going to go at the back and beat the living crap out of myself with a boxing bag and some boxing gloves and smash the shit out of myself.
That's true. Right. Right.
You need to treat me nice. And it's like,
right. I don't like myself, but I want you to like me.
Yeah. And you can't do that.
No.
If you think of the amount, and you and I discussed this before we started the show, this book states that we all give ourselves 2 images, they say in this book, but I'll say even personalities when I think about it. It is the personality or the persona that we want that are on the outside. We want to rock up. We want to make sure their hair's all right, their glasses are right, the shirt's right, and everything else. Right. And we want to be seen as, oh, they're a respectable individual. They're calm. They're cool. They're polite and everything else. And then there's the individual, the persona inside yourself that you don't show many people because you're not happy with it. You're like, oh, I can't make decisions for myself, or I feel insecure, and I wear more clothes or more makeup to make myself look good, but underneath I'm just ugly and I'm horrible. And most of those people, when you strip back all the BS, I'm sorry to swear or not sometimes, but you strip back the BS sometimes and you get to meet these individuals. They are way better than the persona that they're putting on the outside. So someone said before, how do I start when I'm single?
Yeah.
Strip back, be honest with yourself, because what happens with a lot of people when they get into their 50s and 60s, ask yourself, why is it the older generation now, you see them, they don't have a care in the world. They can walk around in socks pulled up to their knees, or they can walk around with their shirt undone and they got their belly hanging out, or they, you know, they might not wear makeup, or they might put their hair up in a bun and not care. And you think, do they not care about themselves? And I was like, no, they do. But they've got to a point where they're like, you know what? I'm sick to death of trying to please other people.
Everybody else, right?
Of trying to be something I'm not. This is me. And you know what? How freeing, how friggin' amazing it feels when you just go, you know what? I don't care if you like me or not. I don't care if you think that I talk too loud or too soft, or I'm too abrupt, or I'm too, someone mentioned before, ADHD. I'm too ADHD, or not enough ADHD, or whatever else. Embrace it, because there are other people out there that do have that as well and go, you know what? I like that about you. You know? Where others are like, oh, she's too full on, or he's friggin' crazy and I can't keep up with him, because he's not for you. This is going, I know it's an analogy I've used for years about shoes, you know, and I use it in two terms. We're going to use it in one term. And that is, let's look at it this way. There are 7 billion pairs of shoes in the world. Some look great and some don't. Some look great and you put them on and you get 5 meters down the road or 10 feet down the road, and you're walking like you've been on the booze all night and you're staggering everywhere because they hurt like hell.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't always come down to.
Yeah, that's not fair. Just saying. That's not fair. We have to do this for beauty, and you guys don't even care. Like, we are suffering and we're sacrificing.
But that's what I'm saying. You're doing it for us to care, but we love you guys just as you. You know,
just say,
okay, occasionally it's like, wow, makes your calf muscles look good and everything else. But at the same time, have you been drinking? No, I just put these on. Well, you look drunk, so maybe put some, some lower heels on or something. Because at the end of the day, you can dress up as much as you like. But at the end of the day, we need to fall in love with you, who's on the inside. The one that when we look you in the eye and we just say, you know what? I love you. We're saying you. We're not saying the outside of you, even though you look after yourself, it's an added bonus. But we're not, we're not saying, well, we love the outside, but the inside sucks. Because if that's the case, you're superficial, and you might as well just go around and just go, she's hot, he's ugly, she's damn hot, she's okay, and just walk around doing that all day.
No, that'd be horrible. That's like shallow Hal. I always use the shallow Hal thing. Yes,
how long will that last?
Yeah, not long. So Denise is saying she has a self issue with perfectionism. She expects much more from herself, but she's much more patient and understanding, to others, forgiving to others. Yeah.
I have to comment on that, because that is exactly what I was reading this morning. Now, what we were saying about the two personas we put up for each other. And what happens is then we have this image of perfectionism, as Denise just said. And what happens is, and this was an example, I mentioned it to you before, I was going to go back and have a listen, and I listened to it. And they're saying the reason why is it that people will stay in a relationship and you go, it's not good for you. Why are you staying? And this book states that the reason why we do it is because we have this image of perfectionism we're trying to meet, but we're not meeting it. So we beat ourselves up about it.
Right.
And then by beating ourselves up about it, we then find people that are also going to do the same thing. Now, if they beat us up, if they beat us up more than we beat ourselves up, we freak out and go, and we want to run. But if they beat us up as much as we do or less, we'll stay with them. But what do you want to be with someone? That's the thing. Sometimes you've got to let go of that perfectionism and say, every single one of us, every one of the 7 billion people born on this planet, or 8 billion people, whatever it is,
Yes.
is born perfect. And then from then on, it's what happens to them and how they handle it is to what it is. And perfection is different. And for Denise, perfection is different to you, what it is to me, what it is to Sandy, to what it is to Kenny and Rosie and Larry and all the other people on.
Yes.
You might see one. Have you ever been with someone and you might go, oh man, they look really good. And I've had mates go, seriously, you drunk? And I'm like, yeah, I like her hair. She's got a bit of confidence about her. She's like, you know what? And I'm like, oh no, I like this or I like that. Because we all have our own. So when you you have a persona in your head of what that perfectionism is, you got to realize, is that the perfectionism of the person you're looking for, or is it the perfectionism of the people you don't want? Are you attracting the wrong type of people who think you're perfect? Instead of the right kind of people. So you might be way overachieving and you might be getting all these confident guys that are like, hey, baby, look at you. And you're like, hey, I want someone like that because he's got money. And he may, and I'm not bagging people with money. Got money, but you might be attracting the wrong person because you put all that energy in trying to look the best you possibly can and attracting all the douchebags.
Right. Well, so what I'm hearing you say is attraction versus projection. Yes. Attraction versus projection. So
there's the comment of the day for my show. There we go, right there. Comment of the day.
Comment of the day. Well, I kind of know a couple things. Anyway, attraction versus projection. Yes. So sometimes we are attracting what we're projecting. We're attracting that person that has the bad qualities, or the same qualities, because we're projecting onto them. And sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes you don't want to do that. But whatever you're putting out there is what you're going to get back. And that's that law of attraction that we have. Yeah. So, but are you, finding the people that are fitting the box that you have for them, and that projection of, well, I'm only worth this, so I'm going to project out and I'm only going to get back that, So, I mean, it's so funny how this, how this goes. I noticed Denise said, you got it.
Comment, the single comment from before, where do I start? I've got I put an ebook together a couple of years ago that I've given to people that are single. And I say, when you're going out on a date for a single, don't ever dress up to the T. Don't dress up with all the gear, all the best gear and everything. Hang on, let me get out here. No, you'll understand why in a moment. Don't dress up to be the best, because what you've now done is you set the bar so high, everything else is going to be less. So anytime they see you after that, they're going to go, oh, she looked good on that first day, or he looked great on the first day, but after that he's not the same. I always say, and don't dress up as the worst either, but I say go in a smart casual. You know, walk up where you're comfortable, but you feel a little bit of confidence as well, sort of thing, because that way then you're comfortable going on the date. You're not doing it to impress him. You're looking all right, but you're not looking the best, but you're not looking the worst. But then you've got a way to improve. Like you can go up, like, we're going to go out tonight. Wow, you look spectacular. Instead of them going, wow, you look like the way you did on their first date, and I've never seen you look like that again, which is not what you want to hear.
Oh, wow. Well, you would just like, you wouldn't want to show up in a limo with flowers the first date. Because it's all downhill from there. So guys, don't ever do that, because we will expect that going forward.
My relationship is just like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. He rocks up every night in a limousine and gives me a flower. That's how the life has been for the last 20 years. Meanwhile, he's broken dead because he's had to buy the limo company just to drive you there to pick you up every night to go out. But he never lives with you because he doesn't want to see that he lives in a tin shed in the backyard of his mother's house, and he's washing his own clothes and eating out of tin cans because he can't afford after he bought the limo and the flowers. You see what I mean? So we've got to strip back all the over the top and look, reality TV, if you're anyone who is watching reality TV, no offense to you guys watching it, but stop thinking that's the way it's life, because it's so far removed from life. Shows like or like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, Real Housewives. We've got one that we're playing over here called Married at First Sight. And they get all these people to get married, and then they put them all in rooms and give them alcohol and wonder why they turn into fights and everything. It's all about drama. And if you don't want drama in your life, stop watching dramatized crap on TV and social media. Focus on here. Focus on being you. When we were saying before about when you get older, I was saying when people get older and they get to that point where they don't care. It's not they don't care. It's what we said before, the image of what they have inside and the image or persona they have on the outside. I think it's more like a combination of they've stripped all the stuff they don't like on either, combined it together, and they're finally, after 50, 60, 70, 80 years of trying to be something they're not, they're now being as authentic and true to themselves as they ever have been, because they know that they may not have long to live or have not long to enjoy life. So why not just be me? But why wait? Why live with regret and wait till you're that age to go, well, I should have done, I should have, could have, would have, and you didn't. Why not just stop all the wasted energy and put the energy in just being you? If you're tall, short, skinny, big, brunette, blonde, whatever, just be you.
Right.
We've got a couple of friends that are now in their 30s and 40s, and they're not dyeing their hair. They're just letting the gray go.
Right.
And they feel more comfortable. Yeah, they get the odd comments going, oh, you're looking a little older and stuff. And it's like, but then you see some of the young ones and they spend $200, $300, $400 getting that ash gray in their hair.
I know.
Everyone over 50 is like, I'm spending $200 or $300 or $400 trying to make my hair look dark to hide the gray.
Right.
See what we're doing? I think.
Right. Well, I like what Lance said. Yeah. Do you see what he said? He said, you're usually meeting the person's representative instead of the real person. That's exactly
I think
it.
you quote the comment of the day there.
Comment of the day, Lance. You got the comment of the day. So yeah, be yourself, grow up, accept and love yourself. That's right. That's where it starts, I think. So okay. Now you are loving yourself. Say you're ready. Like Jeff had asked earlier, he's single, and how do you know when you're ready? How do you know when you're ready? Say you've been single for a while, you're coming out of some brokenness, relationships, blah, blah, blah. How do you enter into that first stage? What is it that you suggest for people to do to enter the first gate?
Well, the question is, love yourself. Now, a lot of people who don't feel that very uncomfortable. So if you're hearing or sick of people saying, oh, you got to love yourself, got to love yourself, got to love yourself, got to love yourself. I don't want you to sit there
it sounds cliche. Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It is. What I would say when I say love yourself, be happy with who you are as a person. So if you like how you feel, you might be a little bit less in weight than you should be, or a little bit more in weight. Be acceptance of it and don't beat yourself up. If you're trying to lose weight, lose the weight, but don't slap yourself around and say that, because what happens is you'll go on a date or you'll go to meet someone and you're going to go, oh yeah, well, I'm a little heavier, and they don't want to hear that. They want to know that you're happy being you, and you might talk over the top. Yeah, I'm carrying a couple of kilos and I'm working on that at the moment. There's no pressure. If you say, oh, sorry, my clothes are tight, I'm trying to lose weight right now and everything else, what are you saying? Yeah. So stick to your word. The biggest thing that's a struggle right now is this thing right here. There is so much of what our mouth saying stuff, but our behavior and our actions are not sticking. And right now I'm at a point where if someone can't stick to what they're saying and they say one thing and they do another, delete. No, sorry. I don't have time for you. I don't
That's
want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I think being able to be alone and doing things, I think it's a
Comfortable
really
with you.
challenge. I think that for me, it was easy, I had to get used to being by myself and doing things by myself, going to the
Yeah.
movies, going to dinner, whatever things I would do before as a couple kind of thing, making my as a single person, was I comfortable doing those things by myself? Was I enjoying my own company or not? And that's how you can gauge if you're in that confidence zone, if you're okay with yourself. I was
But
actually kind of enjoying that. Now, I know there are people that get in the rut where then they get used to only being by themselves and doing their own thing, and then they're like, "Ooh, I don't even know if I want somebody to come into my life and to alter that." So
that's
it's
good
it's a it's
sometimes.
a it's a fine line. It's a tightrope. So what do you suggest for the person that's getting stuck in being alone?
That's,
So we're
that's,
going to talk about both. So
yeah.
now they're alone and they like their alone time. Now they like themselves. They're there. How do they venture out now? How do they add that person into the equation? I mean, what do you have a suggestion for?
If you're single and you're happy doing that, even if you're thinking, oh, do I really want anyone now? Because I like my own space and my own bed and my own house the way I like everything, that's fine. But at
Right.
the same time, if anyone does come along, it's going to be an added bonus. It's not like you need them. There's a difference between needing someone and wanting someone. If you're happy with the way you are, you look in the mirror and you go, you know what? I'm pretty happy with life right now. It's
Yep.
things are going well. Someone comes on great, but if they don't, I'm not going to freak out. I've got everything where I want. At the shops, I've got the friends to catch up with and everything else. Great. But then you still go out and be you, but you might go, oh, look, I've been invited to a bar on Friday night and it's a singles bar. No, I'll just turn up. I don't need anyone. If I meet someone, good. But go there with the fact of just meeting people. Meet
Mhm.
people while you're comfortable being you. And then it goes from there. Don't meet people with the hope of a potential meeting someone, especially guys. I'm eager to say this. If I don't know how many times I've gone out, and if I've going out tonight, we're gonna meet someone, ain't happening. If you go out thinking I'm going out with friends to have a good night and maybe get someone, doesn't happen. If you go out and say, I'm going to take James out tonight, James and I, we'll say Larry and I are going to go out tonight in the bar. We're going to have some dinner. We're just going to talk crap. We're going to go and have a couple of drinks at the bar afterwards, and we're just going to talk and just catch up and everything else. I tell you now, guys, women have this sixth, seventh sense that seems to like radar, and they're like, hang on, that guy's not interested. He's not looking around the room for anyone. He doesn't have that look of desperation or hoping to find someone. And they will talk to you because they will
Mhm.
find you attractive. It doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are. If you walk into a room and you're happy and you're just enjoying the moment, it is one of the most attractive qualities you will ever find. And it doesn't matter how dressed up or dressed down, how tall, short, big, small they are. If they walk in and they have that where they have no care in the world and they're just enjoying themselves, it's an attractive quality. And then there's no pressure because it's not like, well, I want to talk to that girl, but she's looking around like she's looking for someone and she might put it on me, or that guy might put it on me. And I'm like, I'm really not interested, dude. I just want to have a chat, maybe a drink, get to know you. That's it. You got to take all the pressures off. You got to take all the expectations off. You just got to clear it and just be you. It's just you going to a bar to have a drink, or you going out for dinner, or you going to the movies. And if you meet people, don't not talk to them. Talk to them. But then when you're finished talking to them, all right, well, it's nice to meet you. I'm heading off now. Thanks a lot. And you go.
Right.
Because then they're like, who was that person? They were really hot. And I don't mean hot looks, but really hot as in just want to talk to them more. I want
Mhm.
to get to know them more. With COVID being locked down, there's a lot of online relationships. and the success with some of these that I'm seeing at the moment is because they're not letting the sex affect it all. Sex is great, but hey, let's be honest. Sooner or later, we're not going to be able to do it because things are going to stop working or whatever else as we get older. So you're going to need that connection. And would you rather someone you have great sex with but don't really have much conversation with, or would you like to have someone that, is your best mate, that, you've been together 20 years, but you know that he's got your back or she's got your back, or you guys are traveling and you're having fun and stuff like that. And there's no like pressure, like, well, we haven't had sex in a while, or we haven't done this in a while, or, whatever. But communicate. Always keep the communication open.
Right. Good. That's great. All right. So then you're approachable. So our audience, do you guys have any questions about where you're at in a relationship? So there's this stage. You're ready for a relationship. Then what? Like, what do you call that first period of getting to know somebody? Do you have like a term for it, or, what do you call that?
Everyone has their own terms. Some say dating, some say they're just hanging out, some say they're just seeing this guy or seeing this girl, just seeing how it goes, sort of thing. But just don't. Sometimes even giving labels puts a lot of pressure on. Obviously, after you've caught up 3, 4, 5 times, you'd like to have some sort of idea how it's going. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be able to go, look, I don't want to put a label on this, but just curious, how are we a thing or are we exclusive? Because you don't want to be doing that after like 9 or 10 dates and you're like, well, yeah, I'm exclusive to him, but he's still sleeping with 7 other women.
So that's a hard discussion. I mean, how do you just say just that casually? That's how you say it? Or
you might be at dinner one night, and just say, look, how are you finding things with us? You enjoy it? And they're like, yeah. And they're like,
yeah.
You have to ask, I'm going to bring it up sooner or later, so I might as well just say it. You don't have to say it rudely. You just say, look, so are we exclusive? Because, I don't want to assume. Don't assume, because the old cliche, it makes an ass out of you and me if you assume stuff. Well, it is. Never assume. And women, don't give hints or tips to guys. They don't take hints. We just say it. We're simple creatures. We don't always pick up on hints. It's like putting your washing basket.
We don't know that. So, I'm just giving you some inside. We don't know that. We don't know you're simple like that because we think so deeply, and so we're like, oh, did that mean this or that, or we'll take things all different ways a lot of times. So that's what Kenny said. He's just going to stay in his 23-year-old marriage. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah. And then, say it clearly and right away. And she's saying right away. See, I was always chicken. I was a chicken. I would be a chicken.
A rubber chicken?
Yes, a rubber chicken. So let's see. Sandy has told me about giving hints. Yes, Denise, I have given you this. I never take my right advice. I always about giving hints. Right. Because she was giving hints. And I was like, he's not going to understand those hints. So directly.
You can hit us with a brick, and sometimes we want to get it. What'd you throw a brick at me for? What the hell was that about? just sitting there reading. Yeah, anyway.
I like what Nora says. She says sometimes women can say it with an eyebrow, which is true. We're just like, yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's kind of like the kids. We're like, okay, I don't know if that's a good eyebrow, like she's giving me the eye, or I need to slowly go and find something else to do.
Oh my goodness. So, okay. So exactly, directly, right, Lance. And then
be direct.
He's right. I don't know what Savannah thinks you're right about, but you're right, apparently.
Oh, so you know what you're talking about. I don't know you're right.
We don't know. Yes, you were against my hint giving. Yes. I was like, don't ever drop the hints. They don't understand the hints. So let's see. I have to because my face gives it away. See, I don't have that. I'm not sure if I have that or not. It could be either. So you guys are thanks for interacting, you guys. So now you're at that place. So you finally have that fun little discussion and I'm just saying that, and you go, okay, what are we doing here? What's
Yeah.
going on? Okay. How long does that?
You don't want to waste any more time. If you
Right.
you don't want to go, okay, well, it's the 5th date and I think we're going somewhere sort of thing, and they've been long dates and they've been fun. You don't want to then go, okay, well, I don't want to ask him. Ask him. Because if you're putting all the effort in and he's like, oh, I'm just enjoying this, but I'm enjoying someone tomorrow night and Saturday night and Sunday night, well, then, it's now he's got to make a decision. If he's not, well, let him go, because he'll come back eventually and go, oh, yeah, I should have said yes to you instead of that. Sometimes, look, if you want to allow the opposite sex to act a certain way and treat you a certain way, they're going to. But just don't let them. Don't give them a chance. Don't be afraid to be open and be honest. It will save time. It'll save you energy. It'll save you frustration.
Yeah.
It'll save your hair color. It'll save you pulling out your hair, and it'll save you sanity. I'm telling you. Stop. For years it's always, oh, what's the game? Should I call him straight away or should I leave it 3 days?
Yeah.
This day and age now, games are just, they're so old had, and it's like, we don't have time for games. We don't even know what we're doing next week, if we're allowed out of our houses or not. So you want to do that with the guy or the girl you're dating. You don't know if she likes you or she just likes you or she really likes you. You need to know.
So which one? Right. So that's what's so murky right now in the dating world. But okay, so let's say we're past the dating world and now we're in the first phase of, okay, we like each other. We're going to try something out.
Yeah.
And everybody's different, right? I mean, no relationship is a cookie cutter. So I know you can't like map that out, but what do you suggest in that first phase of boundaries? What boundaries do you think is kind of most important in maybe that first phase? Like,
well, that part that you said before about, loving yourself and knowing yourself, it gets to a point where if you also know yourself and you're happy with yourself, you don't be making love to yourself. When I say love yourself, just, like the person you are, be happy with who you are. But at the same time, by doing that, you need to know what your boundaries are, especially if you said like the person before who's comfortable living by themselves. You just sort of like, well, living by myself, I'm happy. If I had someone here, I don't want them sleeping on my couch, or I don't want them farting on my chair, or I don't want them hogging the blankets, or I want them to put the dishes away, or I want them to have a job, And if you go, I don't want someone who plays a game console, say it. It's okay. There are people out there that don't play game consoles and do have a job and are respectful. And if they're not, it siphons out all the crap. To find the rare ones that you really want, the ones that might have just come out of a relationship a year or two ago and gone, you know what, he's all right. Maybe he just come out of the relationship because his other half or her other half was a douche. Who knows? There's relationships coming and going all the time, but be clear on your boundaries. And then and talk about them. You don't have to talk about the first date, but as you're starting to get somewhere, just, say it. Look, and you'll notice it, because your boundaries might be, I want someone who he speaks nice to, wait staff. And if you've been on 3 dates and he's just gone, where's the freaking bill? Hey, someone get a bill now. Do you want that sort of person?
Yeah. You have to decide. Right.
You want the shoe to fit comfortably. Now I'm going to go back to the shoes when I say comfortably. I'm going to give you a little tip here when it comes to shoes. And this could be, the guys can do this too. Think of all the pairs of shoes you own right now. All right? Think about it.
Do I have to?
Yes, you can. There are hundreds of them if you've got them. The guys are probably the tens. Now, when you think of all your shoes you own, think of your favorite, most comfortable pair of shoes you have. Just think of which ones they are. If there's 2 or 3, try and narrow it down to 1 or 2 of them if you can. Think of that, right?
Okay.
You got it?
Yep. You guys put it in the comments.
Right? Now, I'll say to you, Sandy, now you think of the most comfortable pair of shoes you've got. When you went to buy those shoes, were you shopping for those exact pair of shoes, or were you just shopping and you went, oh, yeah, there's a pair of shoes. Oh, I like those shoes, and tried them on, and they've been your most favorite pair since?
Yes. The second. Yes. Right. I didn't expect them to be my favorite pair. Right.
Know why?
Why?
You had no expectations. You didn't go out there going, it has to be this, because you've done it before. And that's why you've got 100 pairs and you only wear half of them, because half of them give you blisters or half are uncomfortable.
They
or
match
half
that one dress. They match that one dress. Yes.
Yes, exactly. That you only wear once every
Once
6.5
a year.
years.
Right.
You know? So that's why
Right.
pair of shoes, and that happens sometimes with the best relationships. They're the ones that you were least expected, and you found when you least expected. You might have gone to a wedding and you're like, oh, I'm stuck at the friggin' singles table and I'm not really interested to be here, but I'll go here. But you'll go anyway, and because it's your best friend and they have a great time. And it's not even someone at the singles table. It might have been one of the wait staff, or it might be an organizer, or it might be a relative of some of the people there that came over and got talking, and it turns into one of the greatest relationships you ever have. It might be someone in a supermarket while you're walking around getting groceries. It might be, someone who sees you at the same coffee shop every day. It's the relationships you meet when you least expect it. Don't be afraid to say hello to someone in an elevator or somewhere else, because there's a reason why they're there in the first place, because the universe works in strange ways, or God or whoever you believe in works in strange ways. And sometimes they throw these people in front of us just to see how we react. But if we block everything out and we don't let anyone, and then we go, I never seem to find anyone. I wonder why. Get your blinkers off.
Right.
You don't have to look. But don't be afraid to say hello to people. It doesn't mean it has to turn into a date, and doesn't have to mean it turns into a relationship. But don't be afraid to, because right now we need people more than ever, because we're not allowed in a lot of places, and we want more connection.
Well, just what we were talking about earlier about the projection versus attraction. Sometimes you're always projecting who it is you think that you want to meet and you want to be in a relationship with. Maybe that is not the best for you. Maybe that's why other relationships haven't worked out, is because those are not the best people for you. So, really just free yourself up, attract out exactly that confidence and that person that, that matches you. But just be open to it. Exactly what he's saying, drop those expectations. I did that when I was online dating. I finally threw the list out. I was like, okay, no more.
Look what happened to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 70 meet and greets.
When you least expected it.
Yes, I know. So that's what was awesome, is like I allowed myself to open the borders, so to speak, and literally. So there you are. But yeah, you have to stop thinking, what type of person it is you think that I mean, it's nice to know the type of people that you like, but open your mind on that, open your mindset on that, because it isn't always, the best for you. Like I was saying, because maybe you're picking people that's like somebody in your family, your father, your brother, people like that. And that doesn't mean that that's the best person for you, because sometimes you're replaying some cycles that maybe were not your own. Maybe your parents had a dysfunctional cycle and you're mirroring that. So you really need to get to know yourself in that way. Like, you have to love yourself, but you also have to get those places, fixed. And that's when I always bring up, of course, in this show, that you need to see a counselor, or you need to see someone professionally to help you, to move you to that next place, like a relationship coach. Now, question, do you see?
That's the book I'm reading at the moment on Audible. It's the Mastery of Love.
Yeah, Mastery of Love. Is it the same?
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yes, he did the 4 Agreements. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only about 2.5, 3 hours long on the Audible. So if you want to get Audible, that's it. It's a small read, but what I've read of it so far is just, they also talk about, when I was talking about the 2 personas we have of ourselves before. Mm-hmm. So when you go out on a date, you've got the outside persona, the inside persona that you don't want to show anyone. Right. Then you get a persona of the other person, and you see them, and straight away you could say, I don't judge anyone. You still make a judgment call when you still see the person. You might go, oh, they're a little too short, a little too tall, a little too chunky.
That's true.
Skinny,
right.
Stuff like that. Why are they wearing those shoes or whatever? All right, I'll give it a go. Right. Then you make up your own image or persona of that person based on how they act, how
Mm-hmm.
they behave,
Mm-hmm.
what information they give you, which, if you remember, they're giving you their outside persona information. They're selling you. It's like
The
this
best
car is
foot forward.
fantastic.
They're putting their
This
best
car,
foot forward. Yes.
yeah, this
Yes.
car's got great mileage. It steers comfortably. It's got a great warm seat with heating inside. It's fantastic. You should try this car because it's a goddamn fantastic car. So they're doing that. But then you've also got to understand where their persona comes from, but also where your persona comes from. Because your persona comes from all the years of experience, but mostly the most of your persona. And now all psychologists will tell you that the manual of your life is written between the ages of 0 and 7. Now, what I mean by that is you're born with nothing. Yes, there is research that says there is a certain amount of DNA built in you when it comes to behaviors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're born with nothing. As a baby, you come out and all you do as a baby is you start to grow it. But your eyes, you ever seen a baby and their eyes are wide open and they're looking around the room because they're absorbing everything. So between the ages of 0 and 7, that you are absorbing everything. Now, what happens is you also absorb everything. Now, how many times have you heard a parent go, oh, they don't care, they don't understand, or they're too young to understand, or they don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea how much they do realize because they're absorbing. If it's arguments, they absorb it. If there's heartache, they absorb it because
Right.
a lot of the times they don't even know how to talk in the early days. And even when they do talk,
Right.
there's an example in this book, they talk about that you're a child, you see dad's got a guitar there, you go over and you have a little play with it. You might, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or something, and you play with it. And dad's let you hold it and play with it a couple of times, but he says, I don't want you to break it. It's my prized possession. So you play with it one day and it's okay. But dad comes home. He's had a crap day at work. He's not happy. And he walks into his office and sees you playing his guitar and he flips his lid. He comes over, rips the guitar out, yells at you, smacks you or whatever he does. And then you run out crying.
Mm-hmm.
You are looking at your parent. You're looking at that person as the one you love. You look up to them. You love them. You think the world of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he let you play with it. But because he's had a bad day and he didn't give you permission at that time to use it, he's flipped his lid and he's spanked. Now, what are you going to tell yourself about that situation when that happens?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to say, well, you shouldn't have done it? Or are you going to say that dad's an asshole because he's had a cranky day, or dad shouldn't have yelled at me? No, you're going to take all the blame and go, I'm not a good person. I shouldn't have done that. Now, the one that I love has now gone off at me, called me all sorts of names or whatever, or told me that I'm irresponsible or whatever else. And that sticks with you. And that is part of your manual of your life being written.
Yeah.
So years down the line, when you ever had somewhere where you're talking to someone and one line or one word has triggered you and you go, what triggered me with that?
Yeah.
Why did that trigger me? Because a lot of the times it's little things like that from your childhood. It's been so very deep down in your subconscious you don't know, but you're like, why the hell does that keep triggering me?
Yeah.
All they said was performance, or all they said was grow up or something. Why do I have it?
Right.
That's the stuff that has come from, and you need to then address it. Now, if you address it, you can either address it by talking to someone like myself or you, Sandy, or go and see a psychologist, but talk about it because you can get that. Once you know where it comes from, you go, okay, well, that happened when I was 5 and that really hurt me.
Yes.
But then I will say to you, as a 5-year-old, do you know what you know now? And you go, no. So do you think that it was your fault back then based on what you know now? No. So can you see you've been holding on to that little incident as a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, or a 10-year-old, and you've been beating yourself up all life in a subconscious level that you haven't been good enough because your dad went off at you, or even if your dad, maybe a mother or a father left and you've blamed yourself for them leaving. But They didn't leave because of you. They left because of your mother or your father, the opposite parent, because either they were a douche and they went and cheated and went to the milk bar and didn't come back and ran off with another guy or another girl, or they left for their reasons. But it's not necessarily your reason, your fault. But you, as a child, will think, well, dad has left, mum has left. Well, then it's my fault. And then you hold on to that.
Right.
You think how many opportunities get ruined for your happiness because of that little incident. Now, it's not your fault for holding on to it, but if you don't know it's happened, and if you don't know that's the reason why you fail in some relationships, go and speak to someone about it. Because I'll tell you now, once you get to the bottom of that and go, oh my God, I've been basing it on something that happened to me when I was 6.5. I stubbed my toe and now I'm not allowed in a car, can't handle anything moving because I stubbed my toe getting into a car. You'll just laugh and go, oh my God. And your whole life, your whole persona, your whole outlook on life and relationships will totally change.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Matt here said, I've learned a lifetime of lessons very early. That's my son. So, you know,
hey Maddie, how are you?
So the thing is yes. I mean, as like Matt is now an adult, so I welcome if he asks me questions about those time periods, because maybe he doesn't know the answer to that. Maybe something was going on that he doesn't know. You know, you don't tell a child certain things, so they do perceive things so different. So getting those,
you can tell them, and they might go, and look, some kids will go, oh mum, why didn't you tell me that back then? It's like, well, because I was as a mother, mothers are trying to protect their children, so they don't feel the hurt or embarrassment or deceits or lies or anything else that they're feeling, because they know how much it hurts, so they don't want to do that. So there's going to be a lot of things that happen in our childhoods that will go, well, why did that happen? And why is this and why is that? And I was told this and I was told that. And then you find out the truth and you go, oh. And some of them you go, oh.
Well, why didn't you say something?
I thought it was this, and it's really only this. And then there's other things you find out and you go, oh. Well, I wish I didn't know that, but now I know it, too bad. But it just makes things a little easier for you to understand you, because for you to understand someone else, you need to understand you fully and not bury things. If you've got a question, go and ask your mum. Go and ask your dad. Did I ever tell you the story about the meat?
No, the meat.
No. This is a story.
Okay.
I don't take too much time.
We're already over, but it's okay. They're still hanging on. That's good.
It's an example of why we do things. A friend of mine is going out with this girl, and he's been going out with her for a while, and he tells me, he goes, oh, she's a great girl, you know. It's only one little thing that bugs me about it. And I said, well, what is it? And he goes, well, she cooks this roast meat. She gets a big roast beef when she cooks dinner, and she'll prepare it all, and then she cuts a 1/2 inch of the meat off, pure meat, no fat, no, and just throws it in the bin. And I went, what? And he goes, yeah, it's not, I don't know. It's freaking me out, man. I don't know. And I said, did you ask her? And he went, yeah, I asked her one day, but she said, oh, because her mum did it. So I said, well, go and ask the mum. So a couple of weeks later, they're at dinner and they got invited over to the in-laws' house and she's having dinner. And the mum does the same thing. She gets this big chunk of roast lamb or pork or something, and she's preparing it all, and she cuts 1/2 inch off, takes it off, throws it in the bin. And he went up to the mother lady. He said, oh, that was a delicious meal. And can I just ask you a little thing? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, I know your daughter does this, and I know you do it. I noticed you cut a 1/2 inch and just threw it in the bin, all that beautiful meat, you know? And she goes, oh, I think it tenderizes the meat, I think, because my mum used to do it. So months later, Christmas, they're sitting around at Christmas, old grandma's sitting there having a couple of drinks, and he thinks, great, I'm going to go up and talk to grandma because it's been driving him nuts. So he goes up to grandma and he goes, grandma, look, just had a beautiful Christmas, loved it all, and I love you, and I love your daughter and your granddaughter, and, you know, it's all wonderful and everything else. And he goes, but there's one little thing that's bugging me. And she goes, what's that, dear? And he goes, well, you know, they prepare the meat, they cook a roast, and they cut a 1/2 inch off and throw it. And I asked Jeannie, and she said, oh, it's her mum. And I asked Rosie, and Rosie said, no, it's my mum. And so I thought I'd ask you. And she goes, oh, Oh my God, silly boy. I don't know. I must tell them that to stop doing that. I went, why? Like, he says, why? And she goes, oh, because in our days, our ovens were small, so I had to cut it so it would fit in the pan.
I've heard this one. I've read that one.
And that is
I
an
have heard that
example.
one.
That is an example of the things we do because it's passed down from generation to
Because
generation.
we don't even know why. Right.
Exactly.
We
How
don't
many
even
times
know
you
why.
and I have talked about things and you
Exactly.
go, what does funny bugger mean? And I'll go, I don't know. It was something that someone else told me. And then I'll ask them and I'll go,
So,
oh, I don't know. This is
funny
the dad
bugger. What does funny bugger mean again?
Well, I don't
So,
know what it means in other countries because the word bugger can be taken
oh,
the wrong way.
see,
in
I don't
English.
even know that, right? So Denise says her mother won't discuss things because of her guilt. So she doesn't want to what she calls rehash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and so you have to have peace with closure about that, right? I mean, you can't force the other person to tell you, those things. I guess you just have to kind of try to do some closure yourself.
You either have to
And
speak to someone about that, or even just maybe, and I don't know if it's possible. No, I mean, I don't know Denise's circumstances, but I did have that happen about 8 years ago with a client.
Mhm.
And I just said to them, I said, maybe one time when you're like, you're having a good day with you. It was their mum that they wanted to talk about. And they were having a good day, they're driving around and they just said, hey mum, can I just ask a question? I know that you don't want to discuss it, but it'll help me moving forward with my relationship because I question it. I've spoken to my psych or spoken to my coach, and he says there's this thing that I've got this thing that's bothering me, and I know it's related to this situation, and I'm not going to think of you any differently. I love you the way you are. I know that you did the best. We're all just trying to do the best we can with
Yes.
what we have, and maybe you made some decisions that weren't right. I'm not going to hate you for it. You're my mom or you're my dad. I love
Mhm.
you. I just it's affecting me, and I can't move on. And I trying to work out why my relationships aren't working. And I know it's because of this situation, and because I don't know what happened,
Mhm.
I'm blaming me, or I'm thinking this happened when it might be different. Is there any chance you can just give me a little bit of insight? Just between you and I. It doesn't have to go anywhere else. I don't need to tell anyone else. It's just so it helps me, because if it's something that affected you and it's affecting me, it could affect my children and so forth. Is that what you want? And you got to do it in a way that you're not putting guilt on them, but you're doing it in a casual way. You're just having a casual conversation and saying, look, Mum, I know you've done the best you can. I love you for what you've done to get here. Even if you don't
Mhm.
believe it, just say it, just to make them feel better. And just see if that works, Denise, because it may or may not. But you don't want them taking it to the grave or them telling you on their
Right.
death's grave, like it's too late.
Right. Right.
Let them know how it's having an impact on you in a loving way. Do it in a loving way and a caring way that you just,
Mhm.
and it stays between the two of you.
Yeah. So Nora said her mom would say, "Why ask why?" The answer.
I feel you know
Acceptance.
the answer is the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Denise said acceptance. She learned that in DBT therapy. And
Acceptance is the.
then now she's saying, what a great response. So,
Thank you. Thanks, Denise.
yes, yes. So,
Is there any other
we
questions
do, I
there?
think with relationships, we do end up repeating our parental relationship sometimes because
Yeah.
we just mirror. And that's why I was talking about projection instead of attraction, because, sometimes we're projecting that same exact relationship. And that doesn't mean it's a good thing, right? So
Oh,
that's what we have to recognize. So we have to understand those things. I was one of those people a long time ago that said, "Oh, I don't want to go to therapy." And the first thing she asked me is, "Tell me about your childhood." And I went, "Oh, here we go." I'm like,
yeah.
"Really? We have to
Yeah.
go to the childhood? I mean, is that the first place you go?" Well, yes, it is the first
It
place
is,
you
but
go. And
there
there
is
is a reason, there is a purpose to that because it does absolutely exactly what he was saying earlier between the ages of 0 and 8. That's where you're learning, about relationships. And unfortunately, if you're in a dysfunctional family, sometimes, I mean, you learn all the bad things. So,
And then you
you
put
know,
it into
that,
practice. You practice it
yes,
from 8 to 15. They say
yes.
13, I say 15, because, hey, when we're 15, we freaking know everything, don't we? And then we
Yeah.
find out we don't. But we put it into practice and what works and doesn't. There was something I wrote down before we started the show, and I just thought, why is it that, you might meet someone and they might tell you something and it might challenge your belief system. It might challenge you and you go, oh, that's crap. Maybe
Right.
just listen to it. Go, okay, it's an
Right.
interesting thought. I'm not 100% on board with it, but I'll take it on board and think about it. And then just go back and don't be afraid to question why you believe what it is. Is it a belief that you've brought in from a sibling or a parent or something? And find out the reason why. Is it because the meat wouldn't fit in the pan? And you've always thought,
Right.
well, that's got a tenderizer where it isn't been tenderizing at all. You've been cutting all that meat and throwing it out. But at
Right.
the same, they might have some information that could be right or it could be wrong on their half. But don't ever dismiss it. It's sad to bring it up, and I didn't want to discuss it, but what's going on with your country at the moment, it's all about having it this way or that way. And if you like one way more than the other, you're a piece of crap and whatever else. And it's like,
Right.
if they actually went, let's just look at why they did this and find out. If we can find out why they did this, it might
Right.
make sense instead of arguing and beating each other, because that's just ego against ego, and it just doesn't get anywhere. And if we release our egos, we achieve so much more.
That right there, I mean, just really in the beginning, before you even start the relationship, that's important, is letting go of your ego and having to be right and pride and all those things, And of course, we didn't touch on the spiritual part.
No,
I mean, I feel like
that's
God
another
puts
show.
people. I feel like God puts people in our paths on purpose as well, and I
That's
think
like
that
before.
God,
That universe
yeah,
works.
I feel like God does tell us, gives us a good gauge on that person as well. Or if you feel that really gut feeling like, ooh, that I'm not feeling right about this, go with that. Always go with that. Don't second guess it. If you see the red flags, if you see one red flag, and you dismiss it, guess what? You're going to start dismissing all the red flags. So that's a whole nother discussion. And we're already over. I can't believe that flew. Like, we didn't even get to the meat. Well, we did get to the meat because you talked about meat. But we got and I don't know. Should I don't have a here's the deal tonight. I don't think I have one. Do you have a here's the deal?
Something with your
Come on. Okay, here. And you guys are okay.
Here's the deal.
Somebody did a nice voiceover for me. I don't know. Sounds a little, he looks kind of like that, maybe. But here's the deal. Before you even venture into a relationship, make sure that relationship with yourself is correct, is intact. That you've tried to fix those broken places before you try to get into a relationship with somebody else. Because if you take that baggage of your brokenness with you, it multiplies. Don't do that. Oh man, you got a lot of stuff there.
Can I take my baggage with me? Really?
You got lots of baggage, man. Yeah. I don't know. So anyway, make sure that you come as a whole person, 2 holes, definitely. You know what I meant. Anyway, so y'all are funny. Yes, we are funny. Let's see. Oh, hey, Lorna. Yes, and that your relationship with Christ too. Exactly, Lorna. Exactly. Is God's gonna keep it. I mean, you need to pray. You need to pray. If you see those red flags, don't dismiss them. Go with those. If you feel a gut instinct, go with it. It's happened with most people. I'm already in one. Still work on being the person you expect the other person to be. Right. Sometimes we're in a relationship now where we didn't do the work before we got in that relationship. Now we're both in that relationship.
Can't hurt to do it now.
That's right. And I really know a good relationship coach. that could help you if you need one. You know, I'm sure you could work with your time zone, right?
Easy.
You
I've
work with
already got a
time
couple of
zones.
clients over there,
So,
so time zone's not an issue.
what time is it there right now?
Right now, it is 12:46 in the afternoon, so just after.
12:46. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and the next day, like today
Yeah.
is Tuesday for you, right?
It
So,
is.
anyway, thank you guys for joining us. You guys were so interactive tonight, and we won't even say that they're my besties, but they're a lot of my besties. Anyway,
Well, it's good to see them. Welcome, guys.
a lot of
Thank
my
you.
besties, and thanks, Ronnie, for joining too. So I had all kinds of wonderful people on here tonight, and thank you for joining me, guys and girls. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. We will have Jayson on again. He has a show also. Tell them when your shows are.
It'll be starting back next Wednesday, so it's going to be Wednesday morning for you guys. And then actually also this coming Sunday, I'm looking at restarting the Simplified Relationship Show, which will be, I think it's going to be about Saturday night your time, Sunday morning here.
Okay.
And I know we're going to be having a guest that you've had on your show before, who's going to talk about how to love herself, because she went through a bit of a weight loss situation.
Yes,
as
I
well,
think I know who you're talking about. Yes.
She may be still watching now. So
Awesome. So Rosie. Okay. Yeah, she was on my show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And yes, her journey is so inspiring. So
Yeah.
so check him out, Simplified Relationships.
JaysonMair.com at the
there
website.
You go.
Or Simplified Relationships on YouTube and Facebook, or Jayson Mair Coaching. You'll be able to find us. JAYSON.
JAY, Jayson with a Y. That's why people say Jayson with a Y. And then Ken, I liked what you had to say. God comforted Wendy, and as we coped with our daughter's cancers, we were in too much pain. Yeah, to be there for each other. But you obviously came out of it, and congratulations to you guys for sticking in there with everything. Because I mean, marriage is tough on its own, but when you add an extra element of trauma, it can be. So I hope you guys definitely have worked through that, and God can give you that peace. Thank you, Denise. We value and appreciate you. And all right, I'll tag you guys in the next show. I'll tag him in the next show. After I post this, I will tag all of his channels. And so we will probably have him on again, because we didn't even get to we only got to phase one.
There's probably questions before we didn't get there. Yeah.
So we only got to phase one. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. I appreciate ya. And what do I usually say? Mugs up. Peace out.